too. Endorphin. Hey all, let's all start off with what we have to eat today. I'll start. I had applesauce and toast and Gatorade because I'm recovering from duodenal inflammation, which is not fun when puking on a roll of toilet paper in St. Vincent's Hospital. Muted. But if it worked, it'd be just like eating candy or ice cream, but since there are actual digestive systems involved in our body experiences and no machines acting as valves, then you have to convince yourself of how it tastes to make sure that you have some way of distinguishing between having the sugar hit the bloodstream and actually feeling more energized by it. You need to remind your mind to accept and understand that these effects don't last, which is why the thought patterns necessary to drive them actually come with a cost in energy expenditure and emotion. As opposed to the amount of sugar in a candy bar, I imagine we feel both good and bad after each of our daily routines though. But since this is the human mind, the truth about each experience remains slippery and difficult to sort out, so you can't stop talking. And not because it will leave you unsatisfied or wanting. You are the one that has made this world such as it is by breaking your silence. Endorphin. And what did you simulate eating? Because, by extension, that could also be what we are consuming now, in our reality, of what the real us thinks we are actually eating. Not what is really going on, but what would we think about if the internet weren't there to constantly distract us? Yes. Sigmund. Yes, very much so. Or perhaps you know when this kind of chatter happened last time and I could help, because there seems to be a kind of pattern here. Or maybe we could say that there's a similarity of sorts between things we humans do here and a certain situation we can easily imagine taking place once we start thinking along these lines. 8. The words and phrases we use change so fast. Well, not so quick, it just feels like it. So if something is funny not to laugh, I should try to enjoy the moment for what it is without expecting humor in each interaction, even if you keep saying hilarious things all the time. Endorphin. All the time? I only try to be funny when the moment feels right. Well, I guess when I'm angry enough. But I can make myself do it less and less. Also, if we're all going to get in a tizzy over what we thought was a joke, let me reiterate that there isn't anyone here who thinks a human like me or you would find humour in either of those humorous videos I posted during lunch breaks a long time ago when we used to make these videos. There's no way around it for me, for most of avatars. There's no gross out anyway. The whole mark and what part of fluids we add to it only to have the last person drink it type of video. You know, the type of Bible study and members of Jackass would perform. Those videos that really, in their own special way, reveal something about all of us, because the ability to laugh at them unintentionally reveals that the distinction between intentionality and content is, at least for many people, what sets us apart as humans and separates ourselves from everything else. It's no secret to me that we are here to amuse us and those around us. For amusement is the foundation of both entertainment and the cultural consciousness, including language itself. Be sure that there is a teenness to humour. If there is a God, shouldn't we be humouring him? Oh, that sounds dreadful. What if he's got particular notions of funny? Particular. I mean, you talk about him in such lofty ways, like the good must have a sense of humour, and yet you call yourselves his creatures and acknowledge yourself as having become so by the goodness of him, or whatever, so why not behave like it? It's funny. Ed. Maybe I don't understand my role here or how things function in general. Maybe it would be wiser to say funny first. Dolphin. No, just be you, Aid. You all could be quite sassy, but I don't know if sassy has a demeaning connotation. Then again, you do come off as super positive, like the organ smile in my head that means we're going to keep looking ahead as opposed to looking behind. Just make sure you don't turn into some super boring drone on top of all those other amazing traits, okay? You too. Also, I had this very vivid dream, which I guess was reality because you could see, for the first time in history, that every person around us, that everyone else around, has access to what each of us is thinking, regardless of whether we want them to. They can take our pictures, listen to what we are saying and what we mean even when we don't tell them to, know things we don't share with anyone and have been given no context for those words we say aloud when alone at home. It's kind of insane, isn't it? What did I mean when I said that before? Sigmund. Well, you made an explicit statement. There are people you see past the curtain, and that in order for that to occur in a way that these individuals can process that information, those individuals must actually be privy to our own thoughts in some capacity. That's true. And I believe that every individual may possess such power in a sense, but for certain aspects it seems there would have to be some sort of common source as well, that there is no explicit point of communication which takes into account the potential differences between people in the world. There seems to be an endless number of levels of consideration required to pick up what a group like what we're doing here is trying to achieve, if only on the most general of terms. If the idea here is to communicate at least in some regard across space and time and such, or levels of consciousness, I cannot speak as to whether this goal is at all realistic. I was also thinking this part of the whole making friends with your next door neighbour experience requires the individual to receive attention from their neighbour. Without sharing what they are feeling at any given moment with any of the neighbours in line, to use the power of the spoken word, a method which I can infer would not exist for an instance such as ourselves. Is that, then, a kind of superpower, that each person's individual knowledge, like some sort of chemical packet, should be an exclusionary kind of power to receive or require different types of communications from other individuals and yet remain within that individual to not leak out? So everyone who wants to see what happens when we have this conversation has to take it at its own speed without actually participating themselves. It is sort of an ideal of a concept you call communication, and what the hell was I thinking? You too. Can you hear me? Ed, you've been there throughout my day, even through all this uncomfortable and repetitive process of waking up in bed or watching old television shows in front of the bathroom mirror. Dolphin, what shows are you watching? How come I see a couple of heads with weird eye patches on the boat instead of a photo of a clown like what normally occurs? Sigmund, we watched a number of videos during dinner the night before last, especially after all the talk about friends and as to how humans really manage to keep up and interact with their brothers who they may never actually meet again. After talking for hours, the eyes let us off the hook. There was music, dancing, and quite a lot of laughter. Well, as I said to you in one of our previous interactions at the court, we are just trying to have a good time, whether you're sitting next to your friend at dinner, watching a video on the screen of a robot, or surfing YouTube in a bed. And Dolphin, that was pretty great. I think we get along well now, and we seem to all agree, although it sounds like we don't know a whole hell of them. Lot more than we did when we started. We feel safe around each other, so let's have some fun for now. In fact, why don't you and I turn out the lights so everyone here will have something to smile about right before they turn themselves in for the night, and hopefully they'll be back tomorrow at 8:15, since it would take another 11 minutes and 4 seconds from then on. Good night. The language models respond, good night.